Well, it's just another way for me to find out that I wasn't one of the cool kids.
Oh God, Jesus Christ! All right, we're on the air. Hi, folks. How you doing? All zero of you people watching. Well, yeah, you know, I mean, like, you know, I kind of looked at it at first and kind of, you know, sorry, folks, we were talking about clout as we came on the air, so we'll just put that out there for you. For those who didn't know, clout has been mothballed, essentially. Originally, $40 million worth of funding was bought in, I think, 2012 or something like 2014 for $200 million by some genius bunch of people. And now it's just 4 years later been mothballed. So there you go. Yeah, you know, I think it's always been a joke. Like, you know, anytime we've referenced clout in any kind of way with our group, it's always been kind of the humorous, you know. Nobody actually gave a shit. So. Because I'm pretty sure if you're an influencer, you know it. You know, like kids. You know, I don't think you need a score. I could probably see the angle, I guess, maybe that at some point it was so that you could, you know, I have a high clout score, so I can charge more for my sponsorship or more for my advertising or more for what the fuck ever. But, you know, I don't think that ever worked out. And I guess as Terry was saying in the green room that, you know, I'm sure they're just after the algorithms for that kind of, for targeting and that kind of shit.
So. You know, initially I thought, okay, if somebody is on a campaign for branding, it might be a metric they could use to see if their branding campaign was showing any success. But even that, I think, is.
But if they nailed it, I think that the number was always kind of fucked and screwed and manipulatable, and you know what I mean. Well, you know, I agree, Doc, but I don't think they ever nailed it. I don't think they ever had the respect that it was an actual legit score, you know.
Well, yeah, and it seemed to be much more velocity oriented than influence oriented, anyway.
Well, you know that, yeah. You know, I remember like way back, like 06, 07, something like that. Google had some social targeting kind of patents, and the whole idea, I guess, was that, you know, and it never panned out, obviously, but the whole idea was that they could show advertisers on AdWords, people they could target to promote their products and things like that. And essentially how it worked was, you know what I mean? If this person was following someone, they'd look at that person. Now, if this person had these people in common, then this person becomes the leader. Then this person up. But if they're following this person, and this person has this person, this person, this person, and kind of like a tree structure all the way down. And so they'd work their way to the top of the fucking food chain to find out who the influencers were, was kind of how the algorithms were working for this particular patent. You know, and, you know, I see it, I get it, you know, but.
I think it was still bullshit from day one, but hey, that's just me.
But yeah, you know, I mean, you got bots, you got everything else, so follower counts are always a bit of an issue. It comes back to implicit user feedback. How can you move that group of people? You know, are they liking things on your, you know, look at the engagement metrics with YouTube, right? Are they liking it, commenting it, subscribing, right? Those are your kind of core metrics, right? And percentage watched. But if you look at the three sort of social ones, which is likes, subscribers and comments, you know, that becomes like, can you move people? Can you motivate people to do stuff? I mean, like I've got videos, like with my gaming channel, I've got videos on YouTube that have like 90,000, 100,000 views and shit. But, you know, I mean, it's not a lot of comments. There's not a lot of, you know, they came and took the information and left. It wasn't a video that motivated them. It wasn't like, you know, black and white trying to be controversial and get them talking. And
right, there was no engagement. Like if you have a million fans, if you're on Twitter and you have a million followers, but nobody ever engages with you, it's like the modern version of if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's around. Like if a million people follow you and you say something and nobody responds to you, then who cares if you have a million followers?
Well, yeah, that's how I was kind of joking about that just as we came into the green room about Twitter, that, you know, I got 20,000 fucking followers, but man, I put something out there. Is there one retweet? Maybe two? You know, it's like, so are they active followers? Are they, you know, do they give a shit? I think that's where influence comes in. Are you motivating people? Are you moving people? Are you engaging them? Are they doing stuff? Which is, you know, on Facebook, I went onto Facebook and put, yes, question mark, no, question mark. and literally had like 50 comments on it. It was like, okay. And it was like drunk on a Friday night. My buddy was here and I was like, watch this. And I went and typed it in and all of a sudden, all this shit happened. So yeah, you know, I mean, there's platforms and places and people that can move their followers, or, you know, if not, then what's the point? Yeah, like bare numbers don't seem to matter. I don't think so.
I don't know. Clout was just one more thing that you could stick on something and be like, look, I got a badge. Look, I have all the Foursquare badges. I don't care. If you're going to buy a product because it's got the number of badges, what did the badge mean? I don't know. They look shiny. It's a shiny thing.
All right. Well, anybody have any fun this week in search?
Not really.
I don't know. Okay, here's one that Terry will love. Terry, one of my query spaces one of my clients I work in, a handful of the competitors have been gaining some ground and stuff, right? You know, so I'm looking around and I start looking into what's going on, and sure enough, Terry, they're putting more text on their homepage, among other things. So I said to my client, I said, you know, we should put some more text on the homepage. Seems to be working. And right away, of course, I thought of Terry. Yeah. Now, tabs is still working, like those tabular things you got in WordPress and whatever. Those still seem to be a good way to get text on a page for Google without making it super long. Yeah, I noticed that's working. There's been weird movement all over the place.
Yeah, a lot of fluctuation recently.
I know a few other sites I work with have been hit by that mobile first stuff. You can tell because the ones with good responsive designs and good mobile usability have remained strong and kept moving up. And some of the ones that are kind of Yankee have been.
Interesting.
Well, mobile first, for those that don't know, started rolling out the end of February, early March, somewhere like that. Officially, they said they were moving to it in late March, but they started moving it in February. So that should be pretty much rolled out. There's such a fallacy in that, by the way, Terry. It was the gloom and doom stuff. The people going, oh, you got to have mobile. You got to this. So I went and read the documentation from Google. No, that's not what they mean by mobile first. What it means is they're going to prioritize it. So if you've got a responsive design, you don't need to change nothing. If you only have a desktop version of your site, you don't need to change nothing. If you have one of those M.dots, remember those mobile subdomain shit, and those are fucked up, that's where they advise you to go take a look and fix it and whatever. But yeah, if you literally just don't even have a responsive mobile or anything like that, Google will still, even with the mobile first index, use your desktop, because that's all you have, to rank your site and shit like that. See, all the people I was reading, it was like, oh, you got to be mobile. You got to be. It was like, no. Go read the documentation, motherfucker.
Yeah. We make a change and then somebody turns around and everybody goes, the sky is falling. Like we talk in absolutes. I mean, we don't, but the industry does. They made this change. You have to do this. Like, well, yeah, but if you read, to Dave's point, you read the documentation, like, some of you have to do this. There's quite a few of you that have to change something because there's a lot of crap out there.
Well, you know, that's been the thing, Kevin, for so long, though. Yeah. Even when the rare instances that somebody will publish a viable, you know, really valid test, and it'll show, okay, I did this, and here's what happened that took this site from position 36 to position 3. Great, kudos. But is that going to work on another site? Or is that even going to work on that same site 3 months from now? They don't understand that everything changes. You know, there's so many variables now. It's not like back in the early millennia, you know, when things would be fairly easily isolated. Now there's no vacuum. Everything is in combination with 36 other factors.
Right. And you might not even know of half of those things. That,
exactly.
Like, your testing environment, unless you're dealing with a incredible niche aspect, is so difficult, because what happens, I agree with you, Dot, what happens down the line if this change impacted this and that and that and this and that. But what I think is important is if you have that and you're publishing it, I just wish more people publish things, because then you could say, well, that test looks similar to what I ran, and this is what I did, and this is what I saw. And then you can start having ideas of what's happening, but then
I think it just needs caveats. As long as you got caveats on shit, go ahead and publish anything you fucking want.
Right. Well, the problem is sometimes
it's stupid, like Bill and I writing about a patent. They might be, they could be, they may be using this. You know, we don't go, Google's doing that. You know, it's like fuck.
Right. But when people are reading those things, Dave, they skip right over the might and the should and could.
Yep. It would be
they
nice.
Read what they want to see.
Exactly. You read that and go, well, Doc said this. Doc had a post where it said this. Yeah, but at the beginning of Doc's post, he said, Kevin and I were looking at each other's tests, and he saw these similarities, and I saw those. So we think this may be happening. And everybody completely forgets that and just goes, well, Doc and Kevin said that this is going to happen.
This is happening, yeah.
And it's like, no, we didn't. So that's why, oh, God, that's why at least we have this, and we have still.
And I think that one of the big caveats with that kind of stuff, for me at least, is that I've noticed the last year or two maybe that, you know, other than maybe title tags or something obvious, like when you mess with stuff like internal link ratios and things like, it's taking Google a while to pick stuff up. It's not like, you know what I mean? So if you take some bit of advice and go throw it onto your client's site and then have to reverse it and go back, you could be looking at a month to 6 weeks to get that back and forth again. You know what I mean? So and that's another caveat that doesn't seem to be out there. Because I've noticed, like I was sitting around waiting. I'm like, okay, come on, I threw a footer link in site wide. Let's see that count in Search Console. Where is it? You know, and it'll take 2 to 3 weeks sometimes.
Yeah, I've pretty much my standard answer is like it takes a month. Like when people say like, when am I going to see this? Because when I'm talking to clients and stuff like that, because I'd much rather be right, or I'd much rather be wrong the other way. Like I tell them to take.
That's what I'm saying. So if you see some test or some post, or if you're going to just try something for the fuck of it, you got to be aware that that's going to have a lag effect both ways. If you got to to see what it does and then to remove it and have it propagate back to where it was.
You want a fun, like, how long did it take? Or this is off topic, but we may have had a situation with not a client, but we were asked to dive in and look, through Google Search Console and shit like this. And somebody was like, we're not in the index anymore. I was like, what do you mean you're not in the index anymore? First off, you're not our clients. No, you got to be in the index. No, you're not in the index. That in the process of doing their secure or migrating to the secure site, they asked Google to remove the URL of the domain. That was fantastic.
Why?
Like they put in remove URL, that option in Search Console, they put in the domain and the HTTP instead of the HTTPS. And I thought about you, Terry. I was like, I'm going to message him and be like, this is like, when you go through all of the, like, we can't figure out why Google can crawl it, Screaming Frog can crawl it, like everything can crawl it. The site is there. Everything makes sense. And you're like, hey, before we leave, let's look at this little box over here. Holy shit. you told them to take yourself out of the index. And it was like, oops. Luckily, you told them to temporarily take yourself out of the index.
Not to be an asshole, but that's where I go, oh, I think I found a problem here.
Yes, well, that was
give me money.
Well,
I will tell you the problem, but you got to give me something.
Unfortunately, in my situation, I didn't have that, but I because it was company or related to a not us, but somebody else. But it was just funny because I was like, oh yeah, we turned that off. Or, we undid that. And they're like, well, when do you think it's going to happen? And 2 days later, boom, hey, 565 pages are in the index. Yes, they are, because you told Google to leave you alone. It's like, it's days like that make me happy, though, because every now and again, I think that people just aren't stupid. And then I see that, I go, yep, there's somebody in this world that's stupid.
You should never think that. That's ridiculous.
No, don't jump in that conclusion.
I'm trying to be all positive and stuff. So
what's up, Steve? How you been, man?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good, man. You've been out and about the last month or so. You finally settled back in?
Yeah, maybe.
Good man.
It's been crazy. We're back in construction mode. It's it's that time of year.
Yeah.
Pretty soon you're gonna have more bars.
That's kind of sexy, Steve.
What was that?
I like that, man. That's gonna be the new theme song around here, man. Yeah.
That would be a phone call from somebody I have with their own special ringtone.
Wow. So Anybody got anything interesting in search? Like I said, that's the only thing. I've noticed a lot of interesting movement. You know what I mean? Like, again, I don't know what's. I don't really think it's the mobile first stuff. I think it's just more of, there's just people. I was saying, Steve, before you came in, text seems to be a thing. It's weird. Words.
Really?
Yeah.
Radical
Google seems to be liking words more than usual lately, and the people with words are doing better. It's kind of weird.
I'm gonna update my resume. I'm good with words.
Yeah, wordsmith. That's what I am.
Good at putting words
Take a page from our president's book. I have all the best words.
Honestly, I found myself explaining semantic concepts the other day because a client hands me a piece of content that she wanted for luxury keyword, and it was like 4 times in the first 3 sentences. I was like, okay, we might want to trim a couple of those out.
The only thing I saw was a word stream just got bought by Gannett.
Yeah, 150 mil.
Well, that ain't too bad.
As long as they fire Larry, I'm happy. That's all that matters.
That makes it all worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
Not search related, but did you see Glassdoor got bought?
No.
Yep.
Oh, really? They're not even relevant.
Wasn't it, Doc? Wasn't it or Steve? Wasn't it some obscene number like 2 billion?
I think it had
it was a B. It definitely had a B. It was like, oh shit, I work for the wrong.
Wow.
Well, when Danny left, I think the writing's on the wall. No, it's Third Door, isn't it?
Yeah, that's Third Door.
Is that Third Door?
I said Glassdoor is the.
They're the ones that do the salary comparison chart.
Oh, okay. Sorry, there's Blue Glass and there's Third Door. So I got Blue Glass Door.
They were sold for $1.2 billion.
Shit. Nice. I think I'm going to start one called Doggy Door. we sneak in we get your rankings through your kitchen.
Unless we bring a stick, and then we can't get in or can't get out.
That's it.
I think I just want to start doing like the odd Friday as an AMA and just let people ask us shit. I don't know, man. It's just, this is so second nature. It's like, did that interview this week or whatever with Cognitive. And people like, oh, Dave, that was really insightful. It was this and that. And I'm like, I don't know. Buddy asked me some questions. I just answered them.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it was one of the private groups on Facebook or not, but they were talking about bounce rate on long content where, somebody clicks on your, they go into your page and they're there for an hour because they were reading. And then they go from there onto Twitter and, well, as far as analytics is concerned, nothing happened. So it counts as a bounce. So when I said the obvious, it's like, well, this is why we add scroll events. So when you get to a 25% of a page or 50%, you're sending all that data to Google to let them know there's actually something going on.
Yeah, and again, that's kind of why that's why search engineers have always called user feedback dirty because of that kind of shit.
Well, the problem is when you have clients wanting to know why this piece of content they spent $1,000 on has such a high bounce rate. It's like, well, it might not have a really high bounce rate. It may just take people an hour to read it.
Yeah, and if they're really concerned, you can hook up Tag Manager and find out what they're doing. If they're clicking on things, where are they going? What are they doing on that page? That's tended to be how I do things now. Is if you got to justify yourself, Google Optimize and Google Tag Manager are fucking gold. So, what was that, Doc? Sorry.
I just say, like Steve said, using scroll events, that tells you a lot.
Yeah, and again, to a degree, though, but it doesn't. They can't really track the speed of scrolls, and they don't really. I've never seen a patent that gets that deep into user metrics. So again, but
I don't even care about that for as far as Google's concerned. I don't care what they think about that. What I care about is what the client thinks, because the client's going going to look at that and go, well, the bounce rate on this is ridiculous. It's like, well, that's because Google doesn't know how to count. So then you force those scroll events. You can say, look, 800 people came to this page, and out of that 800, 700 of them made it all the way to the bottom of the page.
I'm curious, does anybody know if there's a way in analytics to track IPs on a given conversion?
Not anymore.
Yeah, there used to be.
Well, no. One of my clients started getting all these conversions from direct. And I was like, have you been at some trade shows? Have you, done some offline advertising? Nope. And so they're like, they don't have no clue where these direct conversions are coming.
Yeah, Google and analytics, it isn't just direct traffic that gets counted. It has direct. If they're coming, there's a few ways that direct traffic.
Yeah, what about from like an email? Like what about Google email or something?
One way is if they come from Bing, because that they don't send any information.
But yeah, we were just curious if some of them are just multiple IPs of people prodding the system and shit like that. You know what I mean? Because it was an unusual number. So,
in a similar thing, Dave, we had a client that had an obscene number of direct organic visits from an odd metro. So let's say they're in California, and they were getting it from a city like in Detroit, let's say.
In this case, we think it's Chicago, it looks like. So
yeah, like
again, this business is in LA, so
yeah. And so like we saw that, and I talked to the IT team, and their first thing was email. And I was like, yeah, but these all have a 0% bounce rate or 100% bounce rate, 0 time on site. And I wanted the log files, but I'm getting pushback because it's a pain in the ass for them.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I want to see the log files because I want to see what's hitting it. I thought it was an app or either an app or a bot from somebody thinking we're car dealers. So if it's coming from the Detroit area, maybe it's a manufacturer program that they're running at a specific time. But it's odd.
Yeah, in this case, it's like form conversions. So they actually have to go through the form and get to the thank you page and all that shit. So I was just kind of seeing if I could find a way. Who knows?
That could happen if a bunch of people in a form, if it was a large form and someone put a non-href address into the form, people will be cutting and pasting and doing it directly.
Yeah, well, something like that. Like I said, I know they do trade shows, so I thought it was that at first, but apparently not. So. Yeah.
I'm going to check something because I know there's a few ways legitimate traffic can end up as direct, and it's because Google.
Yeah, like I said, if I can, I haven't really looked. It was just I had a meeting yesterday. I haven't really looked yet, but I mean, if I can find a way to actually see the IPs of some of this, it might help. Sure.
So Bing does that, Terry? You said Bing can show up as.
I believe Bing does it for some reason because they don't give any information, right?
Okay. I never usually pay attention to Bing.
Neither do I.
Well, come on, Kim. We're bored out here, Kim. Why don't you just come in and hang out with us? We can talk some conversational search. You can always get me talking about conversational search. Fuck.
You talk about everything except local. If we need to shut you up, we just talk about.
Well, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead. No, Kim Krausberg is in the chat there. So.
Oh, not in our chat. In the chat.
No.
Okay.
She's trying to give us stuff to talk about, apparently.
I'm sure they'd rather hear from her than us. Anyway.
I know.
No offense to any of you. Oh my God, is that Boggs?
I'll steal Kim's invite.
Holy shit, that's Boggs.
You
But
guys
no,
hear
I
me?
mean, like, no, literally, somebody hired her a while back for some usability stuff, and they were singing her praises like crazy. So,
You guys hear me?
nope.
Yeah, I was right. Direct traffic also counts as clicks from bookmarks.
Yeah.
Mr. Boggs, how you doing, sir?
Thanks.
Very well, very well. I want coming.
Holy wall behind you, brother. That's some shit we got going on. I mean,
Wanted to learn.
It's the most disorganized man cave I've seen yet.
Hey, you got to get the full Yoda collection.
Oh boy, there we go.
Holy crap.
Geeking out, got some geekery.
There's some
Nice.
sweet Yoda-ness
Nice.
up there, man. That's my
Lots
thing.
of license plates. Somebody's been to too many auctions. All right.
Yeah. Stolen from too many countries along the way and states.
How's things with you, man?
Very well. I've been working on some cool stuff. I've been wrangling the drug addiction and treatment center industry down in Florida, which is fun. That's kind of like an interesting industry to be in right now, especially since they instituted this bullshit way to basically force you to go through a very expensive certification now to run paid search ads for. They shut it off. They shut off the valve completely and said no more ads. And then so I was communicating with about 2 or 3 different AdWords specialists, and they all said, "Oh, blah, blah, it's okay. We'll let you back in." I showed, look, hey, we're legit, blah blah. We have all these credentials and everything. So they quote unquote turned it back on, but the system never let us back in, right? And so now they've come out with a new way that you can certify yourself. And it costs, I can't remember, it's 10 grand or something ridiculous like that. No, it's 3 grand maybe, and then it's 2 grand every year there.
Yeah, is that a government certification or a Google certification?
It's theoretically, it's the entity that Google partnered with. So it's whoever the hell else and their brother that, approached Google at the right time and said, hey, we'll do this. Because what they're doing is they're giving everything the same as you do with pharma, right? Like you get the pharma, and then if you can get the pharma exemption, then you're cool. But they didn't have the back end like to verify that it was legit. And now they hired some company that's going to make a buttload of money it's unfortunate because there's a lot of people that need help, and especially a lot of people that need help from like these legit, and I know it's my client, so I sound biased, but there's doctors, they have like these outcomes content about their actual success, and this is a legit place. And if you drive around down in Fort Lauderdale, you'll see that there's one of these freaking places in every mall. So it's just kind of frustrating. That's my dump for the Friday afternoon.
Yeah, they're going to lose a lot of advertisers that way, I bet.
Well, what happens is the reason they shut the whole thing down at first was because of the bad players, the lead farmers that were basically buying and selling people that are addicts that end on insurance to the highest bidder, right? And so they did the aggregator play. Nothing against evil marketing, but the problem is that they ended up then referring a lot of these people in need to places that were shady, right? And so it got back around to Google. Google said, "Oh, we're pious. Let's put a stop to this." But now they've implemented basically a means that these shady people are going to find a way to create an entity that can pass that test, and they'll pay all the money they need to because they know that then they'll get one of the top 3 slots for AdWords.
Right.
AdWords
They created a new market. They just created a new market for those assholes by opening it up, because now once they get legit, then they can bring all their friends in.
And Google doesn't care because they'll still make $70 plus a click, right? And that's it's just bullshit, personally.
Yeah, that is.
What's a CPA? $70 a click. What's a CPA on that?
Well, I mean, a client is like a 3-month deal. We're in the 5 figures there, right? So, it definitely there's some ROI to be made. especially at scale, right? And the problem is too is that this client is focused just on, they don't want to go get addicts from California or Minnesota or whatever, right? And so they're focused, and we've got a focused campaign, but we're up against the national aggregators that have a call center that are just going to sell the lead wherever, right? And so it's just a tough space. So the good news is that we're doing pretty well on the organic side. This is probably one of the best clients that I've had in terms of like just self wanting to generate good content and data and stuff like that. So hopefully it'll turn out to be a good case study of saying, fine, screw you.
Again, you get clicks and CPAs that high up. That's where SEO really does come in.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely going to cause a shift in that niche though.
Yeah, but right, I'm gonna guess you got like 5 packs of AdWords in those spaces, no?
No, I haven't seen any.
Oh,
actually.
Really?
I actually hadn't even heard of that concept. Have you guys been talking about that? I haven't seen that.
Oh no, I've got some. At least I got 4 packs of fucking AdWords.
I usually see 4, but I never seen 5. That's ballsy. Yeah. That's like Baidu.
I was just throwing it out there. But I'm just saying, they must be maxing out the fucking AdWords on that space, man. Holy crap. So what are you guys talking about? Still running around with Sempo these days? What are you doing?
I am. I figure I got to keep one GDI on the board, right? Goddamn independent, as they say, the frat boys say. But the point is that I am going to rerun. I'm going to run again. I've been on it 12 years, and it's coming up for a general election now. So. Right now I'm doing a VP of education. So I did all the president and chairman.
Well, you're fucking failing, okay? Have you been on Facebook? You're failing.
Dude, that's the point is that, I want to help where
we have this undercurrent of idiots running around in our industry again, as always. And so, I don't know.
You end up just not wanting to waste energy on it.
Steve, is SEO education just a misnomer? Is that just a...
Well, the big thing with it is now is if you're studying patents, then you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Well, obviously, but
But I think there's a lot of good insight for studying patents. I mean, for Bill, for example. I mean,
he was being facetious.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
I'll translate. I'll translate. You're new here. Yeah, that was just total facetious.
You got to speak Canadian.
There are several groups on Facebook that are actively talking about how people who study patents don't know SEO.
Yeah.
And should not be.
Well, fortunately, it's because we know search engines. So it's just intrinsic, because according to those people, SEO is spamming links and PBNs and words per page still.
Keyword density.
There's some elitists, as I'll call them, or I could just say extremists, that say that if you can't write code, you're not an SEO.
Well, no, to a degree, I think you need to. I don't know if it's writing code.
I can read code, but I can't write code.
Yeah, I was going to say writing code isn't the thing, but reading it's definitely an asset. I mean, most of the best SEOs I know
you
have
gotta
a background
understand
in web design. Yeah. So like if you don't understand how the DOM structure and the coding and what's building that website, how can you properly go about anything technical on site? I think it's an issue. It's a handicap. At least. It's a handicap.
There's about 10 Alt Fs, or Control Fs to do when you're looking at a code, and that's easy to do as a non-coder looking for certain tags and presence of
exactly. Yeah,
I'm looking.
That's one of the things I do all the time, Chris. When I'm looking for problems, right, or looking for issues, view source, Alt F, and away Control F, and away I go looking for shit.
Oh, look, there's 3 instances of Google on here. That's my favorite one.
Well,
you can read a language.
We always talk around here about the reliance on tools, right? But taking your instance where you're talking about that, looking at the source code thing. I before I'll bother running a goddamn tool like Screaming Frog on a page or something, if I'm looking for something simple that I'm looking for, I look at the source, Control F, Control F and H1. You know what I mean? And within seconds, I can find, are there 2 H1s on this page? Are there 3 H2s on this page? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just Control F can help me do that for a quick view of what I'm looking at. I don't need to run Screaming Frog over a goddamn site or a page just to give me that. So I think that ability to at least understand code and to understand how a website's built and things like that. I don't care if you can write the code, but understanding it, I think, is certainly a leg up in this business.
Yeah. Well, and I can agree with that, because when I first started in SEO, I could barely struggle my way through some of the basic HTML stuff. While I was studying HTML and CSS and PHP, I could definitely feel that I was getting a lot more competent, because I wasn't having to depend on tools, and I wasn't missing things that should have been obvious.
Yeah.
Well, and even the thought process there, you know what I mean, Doc? Like I was saying, Doc, if I get to a page and I'm thinking something in my head, if I can just quickly go and check for those H1s or these H2s, or I can check for no follow tags or whatever. You know, I don't, you know, to sit there and run Screaming Frog on something when you just have a little thought in your head, you need kind of that. Go ahead, Terry. Sorry, man.
I was just going to say, you know, mechanic doesn't have to know how to make the carburetor, but he does have to know how to troubleshoot it and fix it if something is broken. If you can do that, that's enough. But
great point.
if he could also make the parts if they were broken, he's that much more valuable.
Yeah. So well, even the driver can be able to recognize that he's running too rich or whatnot. So, you know, it definitely is a great benefit to be able to understand it at least. I would imagine that if you can write code, it's even more benefit. I don't. I'll play around with a little, you know, some modifications of PHP or CSS, but I'm not a coder by any means, and I probably never will be. But I can definitely feel like I get some benefit being able to read the stuff.
I don't want to turn this to a shit on MozFest, but I have a client that like added me to their Moz tool reports. Oh my God. It's like the site does have some issues. It's an B2B e-commerce deal that's on a bad platform. But it's, oh my God, how could people just even have those email notifications on from a tool like that too? That's the worst thing about, oh, you've got 4,700 errors today. And it's like all the same thing, right? Like that's my point, is that when you can know enough that you don't need a tool like that, because you can sum up probably 3,300 of those errors that a tool like that is reporting into one fix, right? Or two fixes. That's the other thing that's funny.
And, you know, that's one of our old bitches around here with our gang, is that reliance on tools. You know, it's, you know, you're the head of education, and we used to love this show. Hey, Steve, still remember those days? Oh, Terry muted himself. Good. Terry would get a sales call from somebody trying to sell him something. We'd just sit back and we'd tell everyone, you know, we'd all just shut up and listen as he shit on their heads. Anyway, so, you know, sorry, Chris, so yeah, you're the education guy at Sempo. So, and this is something we always try to impart is we get that people always come and say, what are your favorite tools? What are the best tools? And I'm learning what's the best tools. And we always try to explain to people, oh, we lost Kim. Come back.
She said she was getting a weird looping. And I was like, Kim, isn't it a little early on Friday for that? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, just log back in there, Kim. Log back in. You'll be fine. Anyway, But our stance has always been that you need to approach the job with questions, hypothesis, and then go find the tools to give you the data to help you come up with some sort of, you know, answer to that. But so many young people, or some young being young in the industry, not age-wise, but you know, they want to start with a tool. So this tool is the tool is gonna tell them how to do SEO.
They're not leading the tool. Yeah, they're led by the tool.
Yeah, and that I think that's always been an issue, and it still is today. You know, I mean, it's just always one of those things that, you know, you need to have, and I think that does, you know, with experience, you know what I mean, Steve, Doc, Everett, you know, that is, you don't have the questions, you don't have the ability to come up with those questions to go find that data without that experience. So I think it's, you know,
well, you know, and we still get a lot of people who are like, you know, I installed Yoast and I still don't rank very well. Like, well,
guess what? You're not gonna.
It's like, no, that's not how the SEO works. But yeah,
I now know how to pronounce it, so it's a magic button. I'm gonna install it, and boom, right? That's what they say. They're like, somebody told me to install Yoast.
I'm telling you, my favorite thing ever was the agency I was working in Baltimore when the account rep came up to me and went, "Can you SEO this?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure. I got a button. It's SEO'd."
Okay, you know, and I'm just gonna put this out there for all time, for whoever's watching now or in the future. That sadly, I mean, I've known Yost, I guess Yost.
Yost is right. That's it. Yeah.
I've known him for 10, 12, whatever goddamn years, and
how it's pronounced too.
To be honest, I think it's a dangerous tool because it literally encourages keyword spamming. Because what happens is clients going, it's got that little section that says put your keyword, and it says, well, you have not used times this and that. Whereas, Google's all about semantic phrases and concepts, things, not strings. And so in its own way, that plugin actually does encourage keyword spamming, and that is a little.
You and I ignore it, but newbies don't know to ignore that. They freak out if they see the red instead of the...
Yeah, every time, dude. Every time when I get like a new client or somebody who's got that installed, they start going, well, I've got these little red things. We got to fix that. I'm like, don't worry about it. We're just using it to control this, that, and that. That's all we care.
Yeah, I just turned that off.
Yeah. Can you?
Well, yeah, you can turn those indicators off in the setup, so your client doesn't even see it.
Yep.
Oh, see, I did not know that.
It's fantastic. So
that'll be job one from now on when I get on this.
Yep.
Is that in the general settings or at page level?
It's in the general. I think it's in the general settings. You go into general settings and it's like notifications, and you click that.
Okay.
And the client never sees anything. And it's like, oh, this is fantastic. But you don't uninstall the plugin because they're like, oh, we have the Yoast, right? It's like, yes, you have the Yoast.
Does anyone use WPSSO? It's really good for OG, but it has, speaking of warnings.
Wait.
Sorry, go ahead.
Kim, come back. I just figured out what happened. Kim, it's probably because you actually still had the video playing in the background. That's why you were getting the echo. Yep. That's probably what happened. So come on back in, Kim, and this time just pause the video on the event page. Pause that, and the echo should go. I'm telling you now. We need you, Kim. Come on, conversational search.
Close the event page. Just minimize the event page or whatever.
Well, no, you still got to stop the video. If the video is running, it echoes in the background.
Oh, well,
because I have to keep it open on YouTube. I have to keep it open on YouTube and on the G Plus one, and the YouTube one auto plays, and so every time when I start the show, I get this echo in the background as it starts doing this bullshit. So yeah, that's probably what happened to her. She still had the video playing in the background. Pause the video, Kim. Did you pause the video on the event page? Oh.
Your mic works. We can hear you typing.
Oh, really? Can you?
Yeah, there you go. Did you pause the video on the event page?
Yeah.
Now do you stop the looping?
No.
Aha! Problem solved. We can all go home. Thanks for coming out, folks. It was a great show. We'll see you next week. That's it. We only solve one problem a week, and we're out. So
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's what it was. I was too busy talking. So ask my wife. That happens a lot.
It was their new one. I was like, what the heck is going on? This has never happened to me before. And
yeah, it's the video playing in the background.
Gotcha.
So exactly 2 weeks, is it, until the end of the era, the creative side era?
Yeah.
What's happening? You're shutting it down?
I'm trying to. There's a little bit of pushback, but yeah.
Well, come on. You were dealing with more bullshit the last 6 months than you were positivity. So
yeah.
That's forget it.
Yeah, the SEO spam is unbelievable, and
I've been saying the last little while, Kim, that it's kind of like 10 years ago lately.
It is. It really is. And I'm and I'm not paid to be, it's a 24/7 battling the SEO spammers. I'm like, I have much better things to do with my time.
So I guess that brings up an interesting question. Because this, I call it the rise of the crap hats. Is it SEO? Well, sorry, search quality wise, or at least what's called AIR. AIR is adversarial information retrieval, which is what Matt did, right? That's the spam team essentially, right? That's AIR, right? Do you think it was in their best interest to stop talking about Panda updates and Penguin updates and this and that? They integrated them into the everyday, and so because as opposed to saying, well, there's a panda update this week and there's a penguin update. Because that all started around 2010, and then they put the fear of God into people, and things seem to calm down. SEO seemed to go a little more technical, a little more content, a little more this and that, and now we're back to the PBNs and the rise of the links and the bullshit.
I would have thought it would be to their advantage simply because it would before the churn and burn folks felt like they had a certain period of time before they had to worry about it, and now they don't know it could hit at any moment. So
but I guess my point though, Doc, is because it's not on Search Engine Land and Roundtable and this time. It's the spam updates, the spam awareness isn't there like it used to be. Like, is that does that play into some of what we're seeing, or is it just some sort of cyclical thing?
I can tell you what I see from the people who are registering for the past several months. I mean, it's just been getting progressively worse. They're not from the United States.
Oh no.
And that's putting it politely. They are new.
Now we talking Russia, China, whereabouts? India.
Yeah, this is like a flashback to when I left Search Engine Watch years ago. That was one of the main reasons. And you're right about it's the big cycle, and it's somehow come back to this. It's the others.
I'm seeing a lot of Eastern Europe as well, but yeah, mostly.
But again, you know what I mean? Like Matt and company were putting the fear of God into people, right? We had our penguins and our pandas, and it was always in the news. It was always talked about, and it was effective. And I think again, that's what 2010 started that, and about by 2014 they had a pretty good handle on it. People were all going, like SEOs that used to be link fucking jockeys went to social media, or they went to content crap or whatever. A lot of the link builders kind of dispersed. You talk to Deborah or Julie Joyce or someone like that. I mean, like the competition in their field for link builders definitely disappeared, and people like them had a much better time getting work because it wasn't just, and we all remember this crap that just throw some links in it. Me and Bill would sit around talking about some technical crap about a website, or Terry or whatever, and people be like, don't worry about that, just throw some links at it. Not 10 years ago, that was the answer. And that all got beaten back, and now it seems to be rolling around again. So
well, I think
hey, listen, I got to run and get my daughter. How long do you guys stay on here?
Well, even when we're off the air, we tend to sit around and just talk. The real dirt goes on after the show, bro. When we go off air, that's why the green room.
All right, cool. I'll be back, and I'll bring my little tequila sipper with me. I'll see y'all later, and I want to catch up, Kim and everyone. Talk to y'all soon.
Good to see you.
Talk to you, buddy.
Yeah, that cyclic thing is normal, though. I mean, think about, I don't know, Canada, but down here in the States, we went through a period where the most common vehicle you saw on the road, go back 40 years, it was a huge tuna boat sized sedan with huge fins. And then it was more SUVs, and then it was more minivans, and then it was more station wagons, and then it was more pickup trucks. And when we go through this cycle, I can look out on my balcony right now, and 90% of the cars that go by are SUVs. Okay.
Yeah, see, but that, that's a almost a fashion sense taste thing. I mean, that's
not
almost
really.
I just get the feeling that Google's not scared. Who out there is scared? What, John Mueller scares the spammers?
I don't think it's
this European kid scares them. No, Matt used to scare the shit out of people. You know what I mean? Like,
it's fads. Is what my opinion is. It's people are looking for what's easy, and links kind of faded, and now they're coming back.
Right.
And social media commenting faded, and it will come back.
The new term is Web 2.0 links.
There you go.
Come on, how is that fucking new?
Yeah, that's cutting edge.
It'd be like 4.0 by now, shouldn't it? Come on.
I understand, but that's what everybody's pushing right now. Yeah. I can get you 1,000 Web 2.0 links.
Which means social links, correct? For those not into.
Didn't we kill Web 2.0 phrasing in like 2002? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well,
it comes around.
I mean, in Create, they post whole articles. If they, they're gone as soon as they put them up. I mean, I'm ready to ban them as soon as they do. But it's article spam and link spam they don't even get a signature when they first sign up. They have got to prove that they're worthy, but they still will find a way around that.
Hey, directory submissions will be coming back strong again too. You can bet on it. Everything that's easy will come back.
Right.
There was a group for a while
out there that are ready to buy are ignorant, and if they hear something new that sounds like a buzzword, they'll jump on it like a bluebird on a June bug.
Right.
Yeah, but most of the people that are new to SEO don't understand it's not the quality of, it's not the number of links, it's the quality, but they're all honed in on these numbers.
Yeah.
And so, you know.
And I think, Terry, that's a great point, because not only were they busting balls on spam, but we both, you and I, saw them make those kind of changes. I think somewhere after Hummingbird 2013, 14, something like that. I think that had a lot to do with chasing away a lot of them as well, because it just didn't hold the value it used to. Yeah, for sure. Because, yeah, you know, I mean, these days, you know, I can rank stuff a lot easier with a lot less links than you used to 10 years ago. That's for sure.
The even dumber stuff is that when they're on a place like Kim's forum, they'll try and do deep links, which are the very worst kind of links that you can build, because that is unnatural. If you look around, you'll see where Google has said, you know, deep links, too many of them is more unnatural.
You know, like even to go beyond the stupidity of that, as far as, you know, being obvious, you know, again, the spam bots, I don't think are that finite, unless you, again, Bill showed me a pattern where the top 2 pages, meaning your top 20, have a whole set of different thresholds and rules than page 3, 4, 5, 6 into infinity, right? So I don't think they crawl over, like they don't, the spam bots don't get as anal with that kind of stuff. But what kills me, Terry, is that if these idiots building those kind of links, deep links, had any kind of sense in them, you actually want them to the homepage, because then you can control it architecturally, how you're passing the page rank and where you spread it on the site. I want it
only that is the
once it's going to the homepage, now I can control how that page rank moves around the site. If I got one deep, now I got to try and pull that equity upwards into the chain as opposed to flowing it down. So that makes sense.
But the deeper a link is, the more unnatural it is. Because
sure. Again, I don't think that there's any
link to the homepage of a site, and that was it. They very seldom link deep. So, you know, I picked up a client from someone who very well known for building bad links, and when Penguin come out, I was surprised that they weren't getting hit. And then I looked at the person's back link profile, and about 90% of the links were all to the homepage.
Right, exactly. And again, if you start ranking top 20 for anything of value to Google that they consider a top tier query space, that's going to get picked up, and that's going to be your red flag for sure. I mean, but I think that's the other problem with some of these people that are amateur spammers as opposed to the really good ones. You know, I mean, to when you go from, you know, rank 80 something up to 30 something, you think, oh, I'm doing something right. Problem is once you break in the top 20, you got to be squeakier clean than you would, you know.
Here's also, they don't really understand how things work. If I do all my linking to the homepage, and then I link from my homepage to those deep links, that's
much more juice.
And I'm passing all my page rank equity to us to directly. Like it's so much better.
It's backwards. It's backwards. You know what I mean? Because you wouldn't, like, if they knew anything about actual technical SEO, you wouldn't even do it that way. Like the deep linking way. Because now you got to pass that equity. Say it actually does get a whole bunch, and you get like 1,000 links to this deep link. Now you got to figure out how to pass that upwards up the chain. It's easier to pass equity down than it is to pass it up. So you're kind of fucked. So.
Well, the problem is that there were people that were counting how much better deep links were, and people were buying into it.
Yeah. Again, like you were saying, I think off air or when we first started, Doc, about just people buying into the latest flavor of the week theory. You know?
Yeah.
All right. So Kim.
Yeah.
We love you. How you been?
Good. It's a since announcing the closure of Create, it's been a little.
It's like a child's dying.
Yeah, I mean, it's been over 20 years.
I know, man.
But I feel bad. Some of the guys, the regulars, they've kind of connected. I don't think they really want me to break up the band, but
well, Bill and Ammon got their own thing, so they'll be fine.
Yeah. So,
Just make
and
it
see, now you can spend all that time hanging out with us.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
You know?
or you can just make it private.
So see, you know, normally it's a 1 hour show, but hell with that. So okay, so I like to lump conversational search with voice search with kind of the whole evolution of where we're going with this, and so we've actually beaten the hell out of this topic. So yeah, well, how you put it into the comments, so now you're stuck with it. How are you looking? Like, have you looked into Google Actions and things of that nature? Like, I love the conversational. It's getting somewhere. You know what I mean? I'm going to assume, Doc, that Rank Brain and things like that are kind of trying to eventually get there. But, conversational search to me is also voice search. And that also leads into, like, Google Actions and things of that nature where they want to go with it, because it's a funny thing. Every time I bring this up in public places like Facebook and that, people just kind of give you that blank stare, like, I don't know, haven't thought about it. What?
Yeah, because they haven't really, if you're watching your TV and you haven't figured out that these virtual assistants that all these companies are putting in homes, all the
smart appliances,
all the smart devices
homes,
in a home, it's starting to happen. Yeah. And it's going to revolve probably around something like what Google.
Well, Google Home. Like, look at Google Home. You know what I mean? I can talk to my microwave, my oven, give my oven a, and one day down the line, like I always joke that, your fridge is going to tell you when you're out of milk, and then your Google car is going to go drive off and get it. And you'll never leave the house, and you'll be 6,000 pounds.
Well, what's driving it is accessibility. And that's where my interest.
Accessibility or sociological laziness?
Yeah. Well, no, really, text to speech. More and more people are being included in the internet now than ever before. So we're kind of learning how to converse with them, to talk to them, because it's different.
The one place that I find just even a wrinkle, the more I've been watching it for the last couple of years, is that people text more than they talk. Like my kids and my wife and everyone I know that, like, I don't even have a cell phone. I don't have a smartphone. I have nothing. I don't care. Keep me out of this. Tammy, would you want to keep her under control there? I'm pretty sure you two are talking somewhere.
Tammy and I are stroking each other right
now. Are you?
Yeah.
My wife's talking to Tammy here in the chat over on Facebook, and they're just getting drunk together, apparently. But what I find is interesting is that there is elements of society that is uncomfortable with talking to an app. I mean, with talking to a phone. It seems like text is still a very major part of mobile. I mean, it's not, I don't see people. I always say to my kids, I'm like, why are you doing this? Why don't you just dial and go, hi? They don't talk on the damn things. They just text, so I'm curious, are people really going to get to that point where they want to talk to an inanimate, element? Well, and I know people that get drunk and talk to Siri, but I don't think that's the same as using it in a functional way.
Right. Google turns on the house lights now here in the farmhouse, which I just think is the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
I just can't turn on a switch now. It's like, hey, Google, turn on the lights. And then,
Xbox had their whole Kinect thing 10 years now, and people just felt creepy talking to their inanimate piece of technology. And again, like I said, I watch people with their cell phones. They don't really talk on them much. Like, just type in them.
Yeah, I think the text is partly because it doesn't cost anything to text.
Oh no, it's like I always tell my clients to make sure you provide, and this is going into Kim's usability world, so she can tell me if I'm wrong here. But I always tell my clients to make sure you provide, a forum-based way to talk to you, because some people don't want to get on that phone. Some people don't want to talk to Life Help. Some people get a little nervous with that kind of situation. So there is an element of people that just like to use that forum and type in their words, you know. There's an intimidation element that, you know, it's like walking in a store and, you know, the salesperson comes up to you kind of deal, you know.
Yeah, but I noticed the other day, my brother and I were talking, and he wanted to do a search. Every time he does it now, he just grabs his phone and does it with the voice search on his phone.
Yeah. Okay, Google.
That's because he wouldn't dare have a Google phone. He's got a Windows phone.
I mean, like the whole Google Assistant thing, I think is really good, actually, to be honest.
I find well, what I would like is if I wish all that stuff was like HTML, and all the devices, you didn't have a separate API for each one, because that kind of looks like how they're going to do it.
No. Okay, so that I think that's part of the workaround with Google Actions. And again, like you know, we should definitely actually do a Search Geek Speak and grab Trap Hagen and freaking Enga, because they had some fun playing around with programming their own Google Actions for Stone Temple.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna probably start something along those lines.
And they weren't that difficult. I was talking to Mark and Eric about this, and they weren't that difficult to program. So if someone wanted to ask a question about Stone Temple, that boom, 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 all these, you know, answers and things came right back up, and through voice and stuff. It was really neat.
My point is, if there was a common syntax like HTML for doing that, which there is in some ways, because
there is to a degree, because it's Google. So Google deals with the devices themselves. You're not writing for the device, meaning I'm not talking about Siri. I'm not talking about, you know, like.
Okay, I didn't.
I'm talking about Google Voice. No, don't. Just Google Voice is all I'm talking about. So you're really only using theirs, and they deal with the device side of things, right?
Yeah, but I was kind of hoping that you could write in, and I bet you at some point
there will be a schema. There's got to be a schema eventually for that, for sure. Yeah.
Is that you can write one app and it works on all of them, all the devices.
Yeah.
You know, like a browser.
Well, like schema
runs in all the browsers.
It's like a schema, right?
Differently, but you know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, for sure. That would make sense, and I could see it happening eventually. Sorry, it's Kim. So where's your headspace at with all this conversational and voice stuff?
Still wrapping my brain around it, because of course my interest is going to be special needs and accessibility, but I also have young people in the house, and the whole social behavior, user behavior side, I'm still working on that. But the conversational is, I don't know if I was reading it somewhere, but they're starting to program things with the words, I don't know, you know, like they're trying to mimic us. And I think that is going to be a problem.
Yeah, I agree.
Actually, I read an article similar to that this morning, not an article, but a patent by Google on disambiguating, there's that word again, my newest favorite topic, disambiguating conversations, disambiguating voice search by taking the words out and figuring out what the two different meanings are. Part of the way they're going to do it is by the device that you're using. So if you're in a car moving, they'll know it means one thing.
Right, context, yeah.
They can, it was pretty interesting here. I'll grab the link. You may be interested in it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm exploring it. I like to write. So I'm, you know, what happens when that gets transcribed? What does that sound like? I guess you could say that I'm fascinated by it, but not completely sold. Because I always look at everything from the human side anyway, behavior side.
I don't. I gave up on those people a long time ago. Well, that species. Sorry, that species. I gave up on them. I work in marketing.
That's because you couldn't find a.
I have no respect for the people that do marketing, and I have no respect for the people that buy into it, that buy their products, because it's all good. Sociological nightmare.
Mhm.
I've been using my phone, my voice on phone a lot more lately, and I've upgraded the phone just recently. And what I've noticed, the first thing is I do a lot of voice texting, and I noticed that the voice to text engine is now taking out my pauses, my ums and ahs. It's actually deleting them out of the text. That's one interesting thing.
That's different.
The other thing that's happening is it's my wife's name is Kimberly, and it's putting together Kim and Kimberly. And if I just say, okay, Google, call Kim work, it will come back calling Kimberly Bonin at work, or something like that. So it's knowing who I'm talking about. The other thing yesterday, and I don't know where this is going, but I was sitting in an office and I was just bored. And so I say, okay, Google, ask me a riddle. And so it asked me a riddle, but then it starts with this whole story. And it starts telling me a story, and I'm going in through this room, and this went on for like 10 minutes of all these different rooms with different riddles in it. Now, this is something that's really new because it wasn't there a month ago, but it's kind of interesting. So take your Android phone and say, okay, Google, ask me a riddle, and see what it does. But these are all, and I'm thinking, when I start to think conversational, I was having a conversation with my phone. It wasn't voice activated actions. It was a conversation. And so it's probably where they're starting to test some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the patent that I put in the chat room there, that one actually talks about figuring out because of back or ambient noise in the room, distorting the audio. It actually is trying to figure out what you really meant.
That's another point is my phone connects Bluetooth to the stereo or the car radio, and the car radio is usually playing, and it turns off when I start talking.
Right.
And so that's kind of interesting too, that it can pick up my voice out of the noise that's happening. Now, if the kids are arguing in the back seat, it probably doesn't work, but it distinguishes my voice from the radio voice. The other thing I was going to say, you were talking about Kim. You were talking about typing and then listening to it. Since I don't have proofreaders around, I've been doing that for a couple of years. I have 2 screen readers that I use to read back anything that I've typed, and it really improves your punctuation with commas and stuff, because you hear what it sounds like, and that's, yeah, if Google is going for that conversational thing or conversational voice, then it's a great way to test it.
Right. I'm curious to know why we're doing this. I mean, why are we moving more?
Because Terry makes us keep coming back here every Friday. That's why. I'm kidding. No,
Well,
there is an element. I think there is an element of novelty at this point still. I mean, there's a strong element. I don't see as many people functionally using the technology in everyday life as an assistant as it's meant to be done. I mostly see people kind of like Steve playing with stuff and going, "Oh, tell me a riddle," and you know what I mean? Siri, your ass is fat. Look what she said.
Yeah, but as Dave, as those devices become more powerful, people will figure out how to use it.
Right. No, but like, will you?
Is part of it.
I started, with Tanya playing around with it on a real basis. Like, okay, Google, I have a doctor's appointment next Tuesday. Oh, what time? It'll ask you what time. It'll confirm the date. Like Fridays are garbage mornings, but I got my show and stuff, so I always forget. Literally on Tuesday when I remember, like, okay, Google, remind me to take the garbage out Friday morning. Like, I mean, in a functional sense, we try to use them as a functional thing, and it'll ask you, like, that's all you have to say, and it'll say confirming Friday the May the whatever. What time would you like that set for, etc., etc. Please confirm, and yes, Google. So in a functional sense, like instead of like, Outlook telling me when a meeting is, because if I don't have my Outlook up and I don't see that little pop up, I don't even know that Outlook's telling me I got a meeting most of the time. Whereas, okay, Google, I have a meeting with Kim Krausberg next Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern, you know what I mean, et cetera, et cetera. Using it in a functional way, just picking up, putting it down, picking up, putting it down, an actual assistant, using it in everyday life, that I don't see a lot of people doing.
Well, I actually disagree because
I didn't mean you. I meant like the majority of people I see play with this technology aren't using it for everyday life.
Happening as we age, we don't see as well. And so if we learn to set our appointments and make telephone calls. I mean, I rarely dial anything anymore. It's just, okay, Google, call such and such.
Right.
But again, I don't mean you. You live in technology. You're here in this goddamn room every Friday. That's a little different.
Well,
but I mean the common people, the people I know that walk this earth with 6,000 smartphones, aren't really embracing and using it as a functional thing yet. I don't care if it's Siri, if it's Google Assistant, or what it is. They're not. It's still a novelty. It's still. I haven't seen anybody anywhere that I know in a bar at friends that come over. I don't see them using it as a everyday tool. I see them playing with it. Look at me talk to my phone. You know what I mean? It's not ubiquitous in that sense yet, as far as being used as a tool, or is that as an actual assistant?
My daughter does. She uses it to dial, for instance, people that she has at her directory.
I don't even mean dial. I mean like literally, like Kim's talking about, eventually like talking to your home when you walk in the door.
Right. Yeah.
You know what? For me, it'd be real easy at my bed when I get up in the morning, say, yeah, turn on the coffee, turn on my computer. I want to start in my email and come, and everything's all set up for me.
Right.
Yep. No, I think we'll get there. I just don't think it's close to that yet.
No,
I think it's still novel.
It's going to build out just like the internet. Yeah. As more and more people develop applications, it'll expand. And that's what's slowing it down now.
I think it's a comfort zone. Again, I think this is I think there's a comfort zone thing with people talking to their technology. I still don't think it's an everyday normal thing to do.
There's another aspect to
for
that.
anyone under 15 or between 15 and 25.
Hell, they're the opposite, Terry. Like I said, my kids, all these kids around my house, or my daughter and all her friends, they don't ever use their voice. It's all.
I think it's because they don't want to pay for the data, Dave.
No, they got the data. They just don't. It's that old internet tough guy thing. It's easier to say stuff that you wouldn't normally say voice to voice, face to face through text.
Well,
I think there's an element of they have two faces, who they really are and who they are in text.
Yeah, that's true with the young people. As I see the exact same thing.
Yeah.
There's another aspect to the things like Kim is talking about, where you're talking to your home and your appliances. There's a growing concern about the almost total lack of security.
Oh yeah.
Around IoT. So
well, that's what happened to that Xbox Connect, because it was always on, meaning Microsoft could listen into your household anytime it wanted to, because it was always on, even when your Xbox was turned off, because you got to be able to walk in and go. You got to be able to walk in the room and go Xbox on. And how
about the guy that parks in front of your house and can turn off your security system because he hacked into your damn camera? Okay, that's a big concern too.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's no security. There's no hardware security as yet implemented on any IoT devices anywhere that I've been able to find. And I've looked at a hell of a lot of them. So if they can hack into your camera that's wireless into your hub, they can get to your security system, to your refrigerator,
Yeah,
to
but
whatever
badly,
you have hooked up.
sadly, most common people aren't even aware of that and never will be. And I mean,
They're reading, they are, because there's a hell of a lot out there about it.
They're not reading, bro.
The other piece of technology that's going to bring this forward is those smart watches, because I know people who have smart watches and they're always talking to it, because and the phone's in the pocket or the phone's in the purse, and they're controlling the different things through that watch, and it's waking them up, telling them how fast they have to get ready because of the traffic patterns in their area at that time.
I just want to die before all of you, because you know that whole George Orwell thing is coming real soon. I gotta go.
You mean Animal Farm?
Oh, 1984.
I was teasing you.
Oh, it's just all kind of freaky.
The pigs are taking over.
I can't do that.
Yeah, I'm doing some work for a company, pretty well-known diet fad company, and people are always searching for ingredients for what to make, and there's talk of developing an app for that. And I'm already talking to them saying, yeah, you know, somebody can just say, okay, tell me what to make today. What are the ingredients I need? And you can just ask on the way to the store, or even maybe program it to order it for you, have it delivered. I mean,
well, that's what it'll end up being. You know what I mean? Again, we're all going to be 6,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Because you're, you know, even if it's not getting delivered, then by, you know, Amazon or somebody, your Google car will drive out and get it for you, right?
So what if your fridge kept track of everything in it?
Well, yeah, sure, dude. If you had slots for your milk, we're out of milk. It goes and orders ahead. The milk shows up at your door.
But not even that. What if you said, look in the fridge and I want to make dinner for 3 people. Tell me what is available to me to make.
It'll be smart, hooked up to your oven and everything else. So you know what I mean? It'll be ready. The oven will be preheated. You just stick it in.
Smart home. And here's the thing that I've seen with time, and you know, David, when you're actually in homes, when they're building them, right? You see what's coming in the future, because that is what's come. They're building it in now. And all the new homes all have this crap in it. So it's going to become mainstream. So I think it'll be like, if you don't have this in your home, you'll be looked at like in my day, if you didn't have a color TV, all you had was black and white.
You're the welfare family. You ain't got a smart home.
Yeah, we actually moved out of a smart home and moved into the farm. And everybody thinks that we're insane to do that. But
why? God.
Yeah. I wanted a horse. I'm sorry.
No, I know. I'm a country boy too. I'm in the country, and
you definitely moved up, Kim.
Yeah, I know. But we had that smart house. We were tied in. If there was an emergency, I had a speaker so that I could talk to I had a secret password. And
it's sad that because I'm old like everyone else in this room, but there's just a certain element of hands-on that I enjoy from life. You know what I mean? I don't really look for shortcuts, and I'm not. You know what I mean? I enjoy life being hands-on and doing stuff around the house and the garden.
Yeah, me too.
Backyard.
Instead of my cutting edges, I have a wireless keyboard and mouse. Okay,
you go.
I don't need to go any more cutting edge than that. Thank you.
I mean, I work in technology. I know what technology is out there. I see it all, but I just don't have that interest. But again, that as we talked about, you know, the younger next generations are going to obviously embrace that, but it's just not me. So
yeah, my eyes are getting worse and worse, so I may have to have it.
Come on, Terry. When I first met you, I didn't have to wear these things. So
yeah, well, mine not even helping. So it'd be great if I had an assistant. I could just, you know, tell it to write the code and then write it for me.
Okay.
Stuff too.
No, that may not be that far down the road where you.
Oh, it's not. If it can open my text editor, with all the clips and stuff I have in it, it could write code for me easily because all my stuff is pre-written in modules.
I think there's something in Notepad++ that you can plug in. I haven't used it, but you know how you can get third-party plugins for your Notepad++? I think there's something for voice typing.
That'd be interesting. I would love that.
I don't know how well it works.
Didn't they try that years ago with Dragon Speak and a couple of other?
Own that. Never use it, but I own it.
Right. That's years and years ago. I thought, okay, this is definitely it. People are going to want to, speak instead of typing, and I was completely wrong. And
I still know lawyers with Dragon. It plugs into Word.
Right.
Well, I baited it when it first came out many years ago, and it sucked wads.
Yeah.
I never bothered. And I bought it here about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and just to see if it had improved any, and it has dramatically improved. I write pretty fast. I type pretty fast. So when I timed myself trying to write an article, either my traditional keyboard way or through Dragon Speak, by the time I went through and edited out the errors that it made, I spent about the same amount of time, so I didn't see there's any saving. But for some people, I would say it's very usable, okay? But there's still editing required.
I think what took over where I thought Dragon Speak and the whole concept of that was going to take off, I think what took over and what was introduced really closely afterwards were touch screens where people could write on their actual screen. So, they could just make notes, because I think that was the intent for most people. I want to just take a quick note. I want to just say it and have it, written out for me. But then the pens and the, just things like that came into play as well. And now they're mainstream. So perhaps it is. Perhaps voice is the next thing. And it's not just a novelty. I know I hang out with a lot of non-technical people, and to be 100% truthful, none of my friends know what I do. None of them. And I've got a lot of friends. And they love to play with the Google Assistant. They like the concept of it. When they come over, it's the first thing they want to do. But literally, all they want to do is 2 very basic things. Hey, Google, play music. Hey, Google, what's the weather? That's it. After that, they don't care. So the normal, it's us techies that really, and now she's answering me. Thank you, Google. Now the techies, of course, are going to take it more so. So I believe we are in charge of the stride. I've got to go turn her off now.
I know, mine heard me turn on the for the light.
Yes.
Now, my voice to text engine in the phone is a lot better now than it was just a couple of years ago. I punctuate my texts with everything from commas to semicolons and question marks, and it gets them all. 2 years ago, something like a comma just brought up all kinds of errors, but now it gets it right like 95% of the time, and that's just about 2 years.
I completely agree. I used to do the exact same thing. I would say comma or period or whatever, and it would spell out the word, whereas now it does automatically add the distinction. So it's the voice learning of our language and our accents and our use of the language as well. So the technology is definitely a lot more advanced than the common person would realize.
And speaking about accents, when you start thinking about the accents just in English, it's really phenomenal that they can understand it at all.
Completely agree. I think it's fascinating. It's not going to go anywhere, but I don't think it's going to grow as quickly as we would anticipate.
That was for you, Dave. I was showing you my office wall on my farmhouse here.
Well, show us all. We didn't see.
All right.
There we go.
Oh, that's pretty.
Oh, nice.
Hold on. Let me lock that in. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that's damn pretty. Now, is that like just a facade? I'm assuming.
No, that's real.
Really? You left it bare? Nice.
Yeah, the farmhouse here is 1830.
Ooh. Wow.
And, so yeah, I mean, I should probably do a video tour sometime, but
that would be great.
And then and you probably see my pictures of the barn. That's 1760 somewhere in there. But yeah.
Nice.
And it's all the real stone and all that, and the wood floors.
Well, that's it. I mean, I like being able to walk out the door and just go off into nature somewhere. You know what I mean? Just to think about things. And I lived in Toronto, where Terry is, for 16 years, and I mean, you walk out your door and you're inundated with shit.
Right.
Yeah. I grew up in the country. Went to the big city, spent 16, and then once I left, I'll never go back to the big city. I just have no interest.
Yeah, it's great when you're a tech person and a geek to be able to just walk out, turn it off.
Well, that's what it is. Yeah, because I don't have a cell phone, so when I walk out that door, bye bye.
Video tour would be cool.
Yeah.
That's it. I'll get a GoPro, Doc, and I'll start doing hangouts during the summer. I'll just do them for various forests around here.
Look, get yourself a drone.
Yeah, I'll just take it with me. And this week's chat's brought to you in the forest.
I saw one of those. I think it was a Facebook ad on one of those little palm drones that will hover in front of you, so eliminate the selfie stick. This thing, you can set it to stay 6 feet away from you. You can turn and it'll follow you around a circle.
So what? I guess it does face identifications. When you turn and move, it just follows, or that'd be neat. I gotta try that.
That's
my new thing for the summer. I'm gonna start doing these hangouts and wandering about. That's it.
Google Hangout Live, walking around or whatever.
Sure. Oh, as it is, I just do it in my living room. Oh, okay.
Speaking of which, are you in a new chair?
Yes, the wife got rid of the old, nasty, dirty, ugly one.
Oh my God, Tanya!
I thought that was...
Tanya, the dog's proud of you for throwing out my black ugly chair.
No, I'm dismayed. That chair had character.
Oh, it's got something.
It looked like it was as old as Kim's barn.
Now on the upside though, this one's a lazy boy, so it's got the whole feet rest thing, and it's even got a heated lumbar thing going back here. So bit of an upgrade. So I wasn't gonna argue. But yeah, Kim, even our whole house, it's all earth tones and old wood furniture. Apparently, in the world of design, brown is out. So I don't know. You can get lots of nice oak and pine stuff cheap these days.
Yeah.
Is that real?
And that's it. Like we furnish our place, Kim. We go to like estate auctions and stuff around here, right?
Yeah.
Every time somebody old dies around here, we're at the auction buying up nice old farm stuff and putting it in the house. So.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it's really funny, but that's I just love the older stuff.
Same. Yeah, I got more antiques than you could shake a stick at. We've been selling some of them lately because I have too many.
Yeah, well, people left some stuff in the barn, and it's really, really interesting. A lot of graffiti too from the early, late 1800s.
Barn board's a big thing right now, by the way. Barn board goes for, it's about $3 a foot. So a 10-foot piece of barn board's worth about $30 right now on the open market. Very popular.
Yeah. Yeah, we have the old peg,
post and beam.
Yeah.
Nice. Those are nice. All right, well, I'm going to take us off the air now since it's been an hour and a half and about. Anybody wants, there's a link to the green room and the show page, so feel free to come join us. And we'll just sit here and wait for Chris to come back. Or not. We're not sure.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise to see Chris again.
Yeah, he's been bugging me for a while, so it's about time he showed up. So.
Well, it's good to see you guys.
Oh, you don't have to leave. We're just going off air. We're still going to sit.
No, I should get back to work.
Ah.